What's going on, everybody? My name is Zach Hartley, and in this video we're going to talk about the buy and sell signals that you need to be watching for if you plan to trade trends in the stock market. Here is everything you need to know. Let's go. Okay, so to get us started here, let's just first talk about what is a trend. And the way that I would describe it is that there is a change that is happening in the market, and that change is growing in momentum. Now, these trends can last a very short period of time, probably being a couple of days to a couple of weeks, or they can last years and years. A couple of examples that come to mind for me are that people are buying more electric vehicles. 20 years ago, electric vehicles didn't really exist and they weren't commercially available. Now there's a trend and a shift towards people buying electric vehicles. It is a change in the marketplace, and it is a trend that is growing in momentum. If you look at the numbers every year, there's more and more electric vehicles being made and sold each year. As of right now, the big trend that's kind of taken over the markets is artificial intelligence becoming more common and starting to be integrated into our daily lives. Another trend that has been happening that's probably even more long-term than both of these is that people are starting to eat healthier and be more conscious about their bodies. Now, the real question here and the real thing that you need to focus on in the beginning is learning to spot these trends. Like, how do you actually identify these trends? And then we're going to talk about how to take advantage of them. First of all, the number one thing you want to do is just be aware that these market opportunities exist in your daily life. If you see that a trend is taking off, if you see a new fashion that is happening, if you see a new way of doing things just in your daily life, think about, is this a trend that is going to grow over the next little while, and can I take advantage of it using publicly available markets and basically by investing in companies? And so that is the first thing, because this is probably going to be the number one source and the number one way that you can kind of come up with those ideas is just by looking at the world around you for opportunities and trends in the market where you can then go out and find a company that will benefit from that trend. That's the idea here. Next one here is to think about what is going to be more important in the future than it is today. Is there anything right now where you're like, oh, this is really cool, I could see it taking off in a couple of years? For me right now, it's online learning. I've created a couple of courses on Skillshare, and the number of people from all over the world that have had free access to those courses is absolutely mind-boggling. The idea of online learning, I think, is going to grow rapidly, especially as satellite internet and high-speed internet becomes more and more widely available. And so that is a trend and something that I think is going to be more and more important and valuable in the future than it is today. I have a couple of trades based on that, so I'm investing in Udemy and Coursera. I shouldn't hide that from you. Udemy and Coursera are the two stocks I'm using to take advantage of that trend. Next one here is social media, news, and articles. Bia Heza is a big YouTuber on the platform here, and he actually did a video about how he was taking advantage of this new trend in fashion that is kind of like the new rich, where they don't show the logos and you kind of have to know what somebody's wearing to actually understand how much it would cost. And so I'm doing a terrible job of explaining that, but he did a great video on it, and he traded Abercrombie and Finch because they are really going after that market and creating a lot of products for that type of customer right now, and he's done pretty well on it. And it was a great video about how he traded a trend that he saw in social media. And then after that, you have economic and political events. The world is always changing, especially the world of policies and what is allowed and permitted. One example of that a few years ago here in Canada was that cannabis was finally allowed to be sold and regulated and taxed here in Canada, and a lot of cannabis companies absolutely skyrocketed and now have plummeted back down because they just don't have great business models. But it was a trend that completely captured and took over the market because of basically a change in policy. Now, the next step here is, once you have identified a trend, or once you have identified something that you think is a trend, you need to do some research. You need to really research the trend and what is happening before you invest any of your money, because you need to understand what you're getting into. Now, there's a bunch of different ways to do this. Press releases from companies and financial statements from companies that are in that industry will usually talk about what is happening in that industry, and they can help to confirm some of those hypotheses or ideas that you have. You also have market analysis and data. You can actually go out and buy marketing reports that talk about individual industries and trends in different markets, and you can buy them, or you can try and find them for free, or find sources that have access to the paid subscriptions. and then you can get that data and you can kind of confirm what you have in mind. You can also look at media coverage. If something is getting more and more media coverage over time, it means that it is gaining traction. But the number one resource and the number one thing that I use is a tool called Google Trends. If you just type Google Trends into Google, or if you just go trends.google.com, and it's basically a website where you can type in anything you want and it will show you the search volumes over time. And so you have to filter by a couple of different things. I'm going to filter by worldwide, and I'm going to filter by the last 5 years. And as of right now, we are searching for the word NFT. Remember that big crazy bubble that we went through where everybody was buying photos of crazy monkeys? Well, this is what it looks like in terms of search volume. So worldwide web search volume over the past 5 years, nobody was searching for this at the beginning of 2021, and then it hit its peak in January of 2022, and then since then it has basically fallen by like 95% in search volume. And so super crazy. But what's amazing about this is that Google Trends will show us exactly how much search volume is here. It will also show us YouTube search, it will show us images, it will show us a bunch of stuff, and it will basically tell us when are we at the peak and when are we on our way down, when are we on our way up, and it will show us what kind of attention that topic is getting. And so I use this as a huge tool when I am searching for trends, because the more people that are searching for something, the more volume that's going to be going into the market for that trend, and the more benefit that we have, especially if we can find it early. And so if you start looking at this and then you see, oh wow, we're setting brand new highs all the time for this trend of NFTs. Well, maybe it's time for me to find a way to take advantage of NFTs by either buying NFTs or getting invested into one of the marketplaces that buys and sells NFTs, or getting invested into one of the technologies that helps support NFTs or create NFTs. That is how you want to think about this. Now, once you've done your research and you've said, okay, the Google Trends is looking great, it is increasing in media, in volume, it has great media coverage, the analysis and the market data that I can find looks good, and the companies that are in this industry are also talking about this trend and it's going in the right direction. Once you have all of that done, then it's like, okay, now it's time to really figure this out and take a stab at it and find a company to invest in. So here are some examples from over the last 5 years where you could have identified the trend and invested in a company and done extremely well. The first one that comes to mind here was the Metaverse. This was a craze that took over like hotcakes when Facebook announced that they were changing their name and their mission for the company to Meta, and their mission to basically building the Metaverse, which is just a wild idea. And as soon as they announced that idea, the term Metaverse skyrocketed, and a bunch of other companies in this industry skyrocketed. But ever since then, they have basically fallen off a cliff and the search volume has drastically declined. Now, one company that was really big into this and really big into supporting and building the software for the Metaverse was Unity Software. They ran all the way up from $80 to $210, but unfortunately now with the dissipation of the excitement in the Metaverse, they're now trading at like $41. And so that is a trend that you could have taken advantage both on the upside, like you can buy into it, and then when you notice that this trend is dying out and maybe we were in a small little bubble here, you can short sell that stock all the way from $210 all the way down to $21 and make money on both sides. That's the beauty of trend trading, is that if you're late to identifying the upwards trend, you might still be able to identify the downwards trend. That is the key here. That's something that you always need to keep in mind. Another trend that was identified, or that I've identified over the last little while, was cryptocurrency. Bitcoin skyrocketed in price over the last few years. We've seen a lot of other cryptos pop up and do extremely well. But if you look at it, the search volume peaked here in 2020, or basically beginning of 2021 here. And then ever since then, it has declined to below 25, which means it's down by about 75%. Hut 8 is one company that rode this wave like crazy. As you can see, they traded as low as 37 cents and they went all the way up to $16.57 before falling all the way back down to below $2. Now they're starting to ride back up as the price of Bitcoin is moving higher, but this was an absolute roller coaster of a stock that basically traded in line with the trend of cryptocurrency. Pretty crazy. Next one here is the pandemic. I don't want to say a whole lot about it, but as you can see, it spiked to 100, and now it has basically been forgotten about. And you could say that pretty much the same thing has happened to Zoom Video. The price went up to $588, and now it is trading down to $68 with hardly any volume. So this is a very, very clear correlation between what is happening in the trend and what is happening in the stock chart, and it all comes down to your ability to identify the trend, research the trend, confirm the trend, and then find a security that will take advantage and ride that trend. Now, once you are looking for that security, the big thing to focus on is the buy signals, and here's what I would be looking for. Number one, the stock is moving higher. If the stock is still falling, but you think the trend is growing, well, maybe you need to reevaluate if that stock is actually correlated to that trend, because if it was, it should be going higher, or there's something else wrong. Number two here is that volume should be increasing. The stock should be moving higher, and the volume should be increasing as that trend grows. More people should be aware of it, more people should be excited about it, and more people should be buying into these stocks. Your goal is to either get in before everybody else, or to get in on the way down as a short sell so that you can make advantage as the trend dies out. Number three here is that you want to make sure that the search volume on Google Trends is increasing. I swear this is just such a weird indicator, but it means so much, and it is highly, highly correlated to the stock prices as well. Number four here is that you want to see more and more press coverage. If you just type in whatever the trend is and then go to news on Google, it will give you all of the news articles. You want to see a lot of news articles coming out in the last 24 to 48 hours. That's what you're looking for. And then number five here is continued catalyst. A catalyst is anything that is going to help to accelerate that trend. So for instance, let's say that you're looking at the trend of cryptocurrency right now. You think it's going back up. As of right now, BlackRock and a couple of other companies are trying to launch a Bitcoin ETF. If that ETF gets granted, that would be a catalyst for the crypto industry. If something happened, what was one of our other trends here? What was this one? I just talked about crypto. If Facebook announced that they were launching a brand new metaverse, and they had now hit 20 million users in that metaverse, and then 40 million users in that metaverse, those would be catalysts that would continue to drive that growth. And so that is the final thing that you are looking for, is just reasons for that momentum to continue. Now, and thank you guys so much for watching till the end. We will see you in the next video. Good luck trading, good luck investing, and we'll talk to you soon.